I've compiled 8 cheat codes on how to bypass creative block and kickstart creativity. I'm doing a less than 60-second speedrun on every single one, and by the end of this video, I hope you never stare at a blank Ableton session again. That's a bold statement. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm essentially here to give you ideas on how to start your own ideas. So my first idea on how to kickstart creativity is to take a pre-existing vocal from like a sample pack and then start to introduce layers, and that should hopefully get you moving in the right direction. So mini example I have here.
Yeah, why is every song to be about you?
Epic, but that's just that at the moment. A really easy thing once you've got a vocal is to load in a respace and create a bass line underneath that. We know this vocal is in F sharp minor, so I'm just gonna create a bass line with whatever works.
Yeah, why is every song to be about you?
And we could have like a descending thing there. This comes down to your own taste and using your ear a lot to see what works. And once we got a bass, we could add in some other element.
Why is every song to be about you?
So,
yeah, why is every song to be about you?
now we've got some layers going, it's starting to take a direction, so we can just literally go from there. And number 2 is the super simple, simpler sample chop. Oh my god. You're basically loading a pre-existing melodic loop into simpler. This loop worked really well, so that kind of loop where there's a whole bunch of musical content, but instead of being on this classic mode which just plays it like a sampler instrument, we go into the slice mode right here. So now the MIDI keyboard, which instead of playing the notes at different pitches or different speed, we can instead play different slices of this loop. And I'm going to adjust the sensitivity because I want this chop to extend out into this little bit here. So I'm going to drop this. Oh, now we're shifting. So with just your computer keyboard, you can kind of turn it into like an MPC thing and start jamming ideas. So this is what I came up with before, which works at a drum and bass tempo. So when you And the third technique for kickstarting ideas is to replicate something, but along the way, make it your own. We have an absolute bang of a track, Il Miracle by Wolfgang Gartner. And I've grabbed the melody MIDI. And now it's time to attempt to recreate that inside of Serum. And this is my very crude recreation of that synth, which doesn't really sound like it if I'm honest. But I mean, that's not the point. The point is to try and recreate that sound and intentionally get lost along the way and come up with something cool, which is your own kind of signature thing. So I don't need this melody anymore, don't need the same scale. I've got the sound I kind of wanted, but not really. And I'm just gonna go ahead and create a melody with this newfound sound that I've got. So something like... Now introduce drums, introduce synths, vocal chops, etc, etc. But that is kickstarting the creativity. And number 4, do I honestly need to go into this one? Look at the screen. Yo, samples and presets are honestly one of the best ways to just kickstart creativity and get ideas going ASAP. You get inspired about different combinations, different what ifs. What if I do this? What if I add this and layer it with this? You just have a track in no time. And yes, I'm biased because I make my own samples and presets, but I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it helped people whenever I get into a creative rut. And what helps get me out of a creative rut is finding a sample that I'm like, oh my goodness, I can make a whole track with this, or it's sparking ideas. And then just muck around with presets until I'm... Anyway, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that because we already know it works. It's not really a new concept, so yeah. And jumping into the 5th technique, Fred again said this in an interview. He likes to just load up a drone sample and then take that kind of atmosphere and then build a track around that as it sparks inspiration.
Like the way we do I Found You is kind of the same way I'll make it, which is like drones, always.
Always. Beautiful.
So if you don't have too many drone samples but you've got Ableton, load in a granulator and then we'll find some melodic stuff that we can just throw around. I like kind of vocal reverb things. We need reverb and delay. This is way too dry of a sound. And the beauty with the granulators, once you've set up settings and reverb and delay, we can just keep loading in new samples to keep getting fresh ideas. Alright, chords work a treat and then just holding one note and then sweeping it. That is sick. Moving on. Next idea is a little bit of an oddball one, resampling with effects on. You can create some really cool ideas by just playing around with different effects, but the thing is you're going to do it kind of live. You're not going to get caught up in automation like this. So the original melody kind of sounds like this. And we're going to introduce a new audio track, set this to resampling, record, enable, and yeah, loop this. This can be a VST plugin or can just be Ableton stuff that really manipulates the sound. Let's just play this back and tweak a whole bunch of random parameters so we get something amazing or just really weird. And then I'm going to see if I've got any gold in here. I love that metallic sound, so I like the start of this. And once we've got our new funky loop, and then we can just do another resample, and then we jam it again with some more effects. And this kind of gets you out of the mindset of being afraid to create mistakes. It's just so much fun to get creative. Second to last idea is to pitch something extremely high or extremely low. And so when I was coming up with this video, this was an absolute banger that just worked really well. I took this percussive element, pitched it extremely low all the way down -48, which is 4 octaves. And these little very subtle transients inside the sound were really accentuated as it was just played at a lower speed. You don't want warping on for this, by the way. And by doing this, I could start to hear a little rhythm that was kickstarting. And so I turned that sound into this little loop. Just needs like a few effects. And then maybe some drums. Like that's so the start of something. And all I had to do was pitch a sample down, which accentuated a rhythm, and I turned that into a bigger rhythm. And the final tip in this video for destroying creative block is to take a pre-existing loop, just reverse it. Simple as that. We have this melodic loop right here. Go ahead and reverse that. And before I play it going into this, our intention is kind of see if we can hear some new melody or some new idea that's kind of just being presented now that the loop is reversed. So definitely hear a rhythm starting here. Just needed a little bit of chopping and rearranging, which is what I did here, so. It was kind of speaking just an entire new melody and it just needed some chops and rearranging. Combinations just come from that. You can turn it into kind of like an electro thing now. Reversing your loops is such an easy one, so don't forget about that when it comes to your bag of tricks. And that, everybody, is my 8 creative hacks to destroy creative block. Hopefully this helps a whole bunch. Save this video for future reference and get creative, guys. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.